Good.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone in South Africa and to everyone else around the world. Thank you for attending this presentation. Today, I would like to discuss with you the Connected Enterprise. My name is Keith Flynn. I am a Senior Director and Product Manager here at AspenTech, and I would like to dive right into my presentation. So today, from an overall perspective, I'd like to discuss with you how AspenTech envisions and is currently working on delivering what we call the Connected Enterprise. This is all about secure, performant data transfers from the edge to the cloud. And what we mean by edge is either an asset edge or what we call the plant edge. And to start these conversations, what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about some of the new technology, new solutions, and new items that we're bringing to market in V12, as you can see up in the top right corner. And to kick this off, I want to talk a little bit about AspenTech's AIot Hub. For those of you who have been watching our press releases, we made an introduction just about a month or a month and a half ago about our new Aspen AIot Hub. And today I want to give you just a brief overview of that and how it relates to what we're calling our Connected Enterprise. At AspenTech, we commonly refer to what we call our Aspen Digital Reference Architecture for asset optimization. This is really about a new way of delivering the classic type of solutions where we talk about performance engineering, product optimization, or asset performance management. And these are the things that you have been accustomed to hearing from AspenTech in more of the traditional on-premise sense. Today, I want to introduce, as part of the Connected Enterprise, what we're calling our industrial AI infrastructure, just as a starting point here to kick things off. And when I talk about industrial AI infrastructure, when we talk about connectivity, we want to talk about data sources. So for any solution that is data-driven, whether it's AI-based or whether it's in our performance engineering or optimization or performance management suites, it's all about having connectivity to drive those products to deliver value. So when we start talking about our Aspen Industrial AI infrastructure and our AIot Hub, data sources are essential to that. And as you can see down in the lower bottom left-hand corner, the highlighted portions here are really focused on the Aspen data sources. And that includes things like IP21, and we'll talk a little bit about the MES collaborative as we get into this. So data sources as a foundational layer. And then we will talk a little bit about connectivity and what we call edge computing, because I think that's essential as we move forward into this full stack conversation where we talk about pulling data from those sources, putting it into a cloud-based infrastructure or enterprise infrastructure, and then delivering sort of that intelligence and the AI and all those computational pieces back down into what we call edge computing, or in our language, we're calling it the intelligent edge. So that's also another sort of foundational layer. And then we start talking about our Aspen Cloud. And Aspen Cloud is really about big data ingestion. When we talk about enterprise level solutions, and especially when we start talking about cloud and leveraging things like large ingress, that data ingestion is important. So we have data ingestion. We want to talk about data management. A lot of these apps, again, are highly dependent on data-driven type algorithms and data conditioning and enrichment. And then, we'll talk a little bit about data lakes, but that's an essential part as well as delivering what we're calling, our AI infrastructure. And then, of course, there's this productization of models. How do we deliver, things that drive value, whether it's using new machine learning technologies, whether we're using sort of third-party first principles or first principle-based algorithms that we develop. It's all about how we package it, we productize it, and we help you take that to market. And with our V12 release and this introduction of the AIot Hub, out of the box, AspenTech has what's called the Aspen Industrial AI Toolkit. And that includes things like our Aspen Data Science Studio and our Aspen IoT Analytics Suite. These are really all about time to value. How do we democratize some of the things today that are driving value using and leveraging things like machine learning and embedded AI. So we have what we call our Aspen Industrial AI Toolkit. And then on top of that, if we're talking about enterprise level solutions, there needs to be that, all-encompassing holistic visualization component. And then there's also things like collaborative workflows. So when we talk about that, we're really introducing our Aspen Enterprise Insights. This is a product that's been around for a little while now here at AspenTech, but now as part of our AIoT hub, it sits at that top layer, again, delivering that sort of full stack from bottom up with the enterprise visualization. And all of these products really have come from recent acquisitions within AspenTech. I joined AspenTech as part of an acquisition in 2017, and I've been responsible for that connectivity layer. We've introduced Nuvo to accelerate our Aspen Cloud component, and then Subitsu for the enterprise visualization. But then AspenTech has, its core and sort of its legacy competency when we talk about delivering AI-based applications and industrial apps. So what we envisioned here is that you will see AspenTech industrial AI applications, whether it's models or agents, there's different terminology, and then of course working with customers and partners for purpose-built apps to leverage this infrastructure. Everything that you see here in yellow is a backbone for that sort of connected enterprise, cloud-based delivery, and everything that we need in order to deliver a new sort of genre of industrial AI apps. And then, in our sort of true fashion here, we also want to be able to extend that so that we can work with customers and partners to pull in what we're calling third-party or custom solutions that sort of fit in and layer in on top of that. And all of this, I think, is very, very exciting because in V12, we're actually releasing our first two products. We have the Aspen AI Model Builder, and we have our Aspen Event Analytics. And I think this is a true testament to this, AIoT hub, whereas we just introduced it as sort of a new business unit or a solutions group within the company. But right away in V12, we're actually delivering a few apps. And then of course, there's a vision here where we're going to talk about next generation MES and what we're calling self-optimizing plant applications. And then we talk about APM, our 4.0 agents, and then the self-optimizing plant agent. There's a huge vision here in terms of what this is going to do. And it makes, our delivery a much more agile as we move forward. We can think about, cloud native, multi-tenant, SaaS-based applications that are purpose-built to solve some, problems that we envision everyone is encountering. So if I take this diagram and I really want to sort of put it into more of a visual that gives you a little perspective about the connected enterprise, what we can see here and what we focus on from my part today is we're going to dive into this integrated data. So when we start talking about connected enterprise, how do we get data from your on-prem IP21 systems or third-party historians up into the enterprise using our new V12 MES collaborative? And then we'll talk a little bit about connectivity and lifting that data up into the cloud as well. So it's all about integrated data, and that's what I'll dive into. But we'll talk a little bit about visualizations at the enterprise level as well, because we're tending to different audiences once we move into the enterprise. And we'll talk about this ecosystem enabling. How do you build custom applications and build what we call extensions using our AEI and that, the enterprise insights out of the box template approach. So without wasting any time, what I'd like to do is I'm going to focus on the enterprise historian. I'll talk a little bit about our collaborative, and then we'll talk a little bit about the connectivity as well and how that's enabling us to do a lot of this. So as I dive into the MES collaborative, this is built on the IP21 technology. So what it is an enterprise level historian that provides aggregation of data on a large scale, not just from our own IP21 systems, but also from third parties. It's about connecting to small sites, eliminating stranded data. As we go into new markets and as we move into different verticals with our enterprise and cloud-based solutions, the use cases for data storage and historians at that enterprise level is growing, and the demand is there to also extend into these small sites that have, in some cases, very little infrastructure. And I know we've all experienced that at some point or another where we'd like to reach in and just pull data from, let's say, a DCS or a PLC on a small site. So one of the other capabilities of this new enterprise historian that's driving value is the high availability, eliminating any kind of ripple effect or data loss. We talk about 24/7 by 365 availability and runtime. I think that's important because as we move into these systems now that sit at the enterprise level with very little touch points on site, especially on these smaller sites, it's important to have that high availability. And then, of course, the user base will grow as we extend our reach at the enterprise level. We're introducing this new capability with sophisticated load balancing that enables the system to be highly responsive. And as we go into the enterprise, we're going to see that demand and the user base grow. You're going to see much, much larger numbers of concurrent users, connected data sources, and so forth. So very, very excited. And what I'd like to do now is take these capabilities and break them down for you into how we see them as being, benefits. So when we start talking about, the enterprise level, and as we go into the enterprise, that user base I keep mentioning grows, and our use cases change. So it's no longer really about being, at the operational level or at a process historian level on site. We're really now taking action and taking that information to a much wider audience than just the process engineers on plant. So we can start making comprehensive real-time decisions at a new level on productivity and efficiency across a whole enterprise, not just on a particular area in the process or a particular asset. We're now looking at plant-to-plant comparisons. And then, of course, at this level, because we're providing that information at a much broader scale, we talk about it, being much more responsive. So we need to really start leveraging what we're calling cloud computing or the cloud technology so that we can take advantage of that elastic compute that you hear about all the time and moving into the cloud. So this new MES collaborative leverages that. And, another sort of benefit here, or another sort of thing that I can dive into is this idea about reaching smaller plants. Having a motto of leaving no site or no data behind, I think is going to be critical as we now take solutions that have been traditionally available to only plants that had large infrastructure, had the on-site historian that could use these tools. Now with this new enterprise level storage and enterprise level historian and access to all of these new technologies, we can extend all of these tools and drive value to even some of the smaller plants that are out there, enabling them to take full advantage of what was traditionally, in 10, 20 years ago to just the sites that had all that infrastructure. It also drives, savings on hardware. If you can lift your enterprise to if you can lift your historian to the enterprise level, think of some of the IT savings you have on hardware and maintenance that you would traditionally manage on site, and then of course the added benefit of having it up at what we're calling a 24/7 by 365 availability. That I think is going to be critical because resources can now focus on solving the problems and not maintaining the infrastructure. And then of course remote data no longer being isolated. I think that's an immediate benefit. And then we want to think that the day of emailing spreadsheets and Excel files and CSV files around to get it to the enterprise level, we want to put those behind us. We want to eliminate this whole manual data manipulation. We can standardize on one type of approach to how data is handled at the enterprise level and no longer deal with inconsistencies or even human error in some cases. So having this system up and the system redundancy, having that high availability and that data there all the time, I think it really sort of instills confidence in some of the solutions that people are now relying on, especially when we start talking about cloud. We want to help ease and help transitions of people that move into the enterprise level and into the cloud. There are a lot of industries out there that are somewhat hesitant, but having this listing off the benefits of high availability, I think is critical. And the fact that it's accessible with this non-disruptive way of making changes and upgrading, I think is really attractive to a lot of people. So when we start talking about releasing new features and pushing updates, doing all of that and eliminating sort of, the risk of having downtime, I think is critical, especially when we start talking about adoption. So eliminating interruptions to access to software, I think is important. And then of course, just staying current with software and versions, making sure that any security patches can be applied, or if we're talking about taking advantage of new features, reducing the risk of having an outage or disruption, I think is important, and it means that we can move faster. So the velocity to which applications get adopted and delivered, you're going to see that increase over time as people move into this enterprise level. And of course, when we start talking about user bases growing, as you layer in new users or pull a new plant or an entire new data source into the cloud, the ability to rapidly reallocate capacity to adopt to that, this dynamic cloud scalability, I think is very, very important. And then of course, having that fault tolerance sort of built in, or we call it, the surge protection for your enterprise data, I think is critical. Again, it's all about driving confidence so that we can scale very transparently, and it ends up being, non-disruptive. So things just, will layer in, and things will expand and grow to meet the increased demand in terms of user base. Now, all of this is great, and we start talking about enterprise data. So the second focal point that I want to dive into here today is about our new V12 of Aspen Cloud Connect. So again, technology is advancing. We're talking about collaboratives now in the cloud with this, ability to sort of scale, and we've got, these load balancing capabilities to adopt. Well, that really drives demand to get more data into the cloud. So with the V12 release of our Cloud Connect, that is something that we're very focused on. So we still maintain, one of our differentiations here is that we have always been flexible in terms of what we can connect to. But with V12, we essentially are releasing a purpose-built for IP21 connector with the MES collaborative as part of that. And then, of course, there's connectivity to the Aspen Cloud as part of the new AIot hub. But true to our nature, we want to make sure that we are very data focused and data driven, because we're really on our attention is on the business solution side. So we support other protocols, other historians, things like data lakes and other cloud providers to really drive the focus on solving a business solution and not getting caught up in trying to solve connectivity needs. So Cloud Connect is that new fit for purpose built IP21 MES collaborative Aspen Cloud connector, but it also maintains all of the connectivity to legacy sources as well as third-party sources as well. Again, so we can focus on business solutions. And our V12 is our most performant release yet when we start talking about throughput. And we've now introduced a new encrypted secure transfer from the edge to the cloud to get data into our MES collaborative, fully encrypted. And that really, again, is all about driving user confidence. All of this larger throughput, enhanced security really means that we need to have simplified workflows. So V12 also delivers a new and improved embedded toolkit that drives that workflow. When you start moving out of the realm of transferring 500 tags to the cloud, for instance, to 50,000 tags to the cloud, that transition needs to be fairly seamless and painless as well. So, a high focus here in terms of where we are with the user toolkit. And of course, I'll touch a little bit about on edge computing. In our V12, we have embedded Lua capabilities where you can write scripts that allow you to do things like custom calculations, data conditioning, and handle and transfer data with any type of operation that you're looking for within the confines of the Lua capabilities in this version. And then, of course, our vision is to extend that into a much, much more comprehensive edge or intelligent edge solution as we move forward. So again, I mentioned that we have this flexible connectivity. So we still maintain a diverse library of what we call classic and modern connectors. So to achieve that maximum performance for reaching stranded data, we realize that not everything out there in the field is going to be one source. It's not all going to be universal. So we still support that, diverse library of connectors from a data source. But our focus, in this version was to really sort of achieve this connected enterprise with our collaborative. So we put a high focus on our new AIot hub, IP21, and the MES collaborative. But out of the box, it still works with all of the others that you would expect. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, in addition to providing data into our own endpoints, with the connected enterprise, we also realize that customers have other use cases for connectivity into streaming data processors, data lakes, cloud providers, and so forth. So we maintain that as well. And then, we talk about this being purpose-built for IP21 and the collaborative. When we say that, to ensure optimal performance and to use encryption, we're talking about a 10 times speed increase for IP21 data access. For those of you who are familiar with previous versions of our Cloud Connect, V12 is 10 times more performant for IP21 connectivity. And we now have what we call this gRPC wrapper with TLS encryption on it to help us achieve this multi-site transfer up into the enterprise. And interesting enough, this goes all the way back to version 7.3. So it doesn't require the customer base who are IP21 customers now to perform an upgrade. This V12 feature for Connect is actually backwards compatible to version 7.3 of IP21. That means we've introduced a lot of flexibility here, a lot of options for our customers to provide the enterprise data historian with the collaborative without having to go plant to plant and updating all of their data sources. So I think that's very, very important. And then, of course, again, I want to reiterate here that this is part of an overall vision. When we start talking about moving forward, this isn't just about getting data into the enterprise, it's what we do with it when we get it there. So all of this is available today. So, we can work with those who have questions in the end here, but the enterprise historian is really that enabler for our vision, to drive data into the cloud. And just a couple of closing slides here when we talk about the simplified workflows, bigger data sources, larger data throughput. It's all about easy deployment. We want to make this, the connectivity part very transactional. It's very scalable. We have introduced new licensing schemes in V12 that really enable rapid adoption. And of course, improved configuration and workflows to drive that, consumption of data, not just the transfer of data. We want this to be very, very seamless in getting data into the connected enterprise. And then last but not least, we want to talk a little bit about the Lua capabilities. So, again, not all out of the box capabilities are there to meet every customer's demands. So we introduced our first sort of edge computing capability with Lua scripting so that we can help customers achieve any kind of data transformation they're looking for, data conditioning they're looking for, in-stream bulk, or we can do it sort of on demand. There are all types of execution capabilities here, whether it's in what we call a route as part of a standard transfer, whether we trigger these things by frequency, or we just set it up to use some type of trigger logic to execute an edge type algorithm that can help with calculations or data conditioning right at the edge. And then I'm going to end on a big note here. One of our competitive differentiators on V12 is that Aspen Connect is actually now free. So we want to help our customers move data into our AIoT hub at no cost. So if AspenTech is the destination, our product can be downloaded, installed, no entitlement necessary if you're sending data into one of our enterprise solutions, whether that's the Aspen Cloud as part of the AIoT hub, whether it's the MES collaborative, or even an IP21 system that may sit at a roll-up level here. So there's really no additional cost at that level. And yeah, we think that this is really going to drive adoption. We want to focus on solutions. We want to, business value, and we want to help make the data capturing part of that transactional. So I think this is very, very exciting. Our V12 release, some big things still to come, obviously, as we move into this. But I will stop there and open up the floor for questions.
Thanks, Keith. That was a brilliant presentation from you, and thanks for dialing in this early from Canada this morning, or morning your time. So yeah, great insights and great excitement. So I see some questions coming through, and the team is basically asking here. One of the clients is saying, listen, so do you say that I can put MES collaborative, today on top of my existing IP21 historian on site, and deploy it for free. I also have some other historians as well. So is this technology available, soon that I can just deploy it?
So the MES collaborative part itself is not what's free, it's the connectivity that's free. So I want to draw that line first. So the connectivity, so you can pull data from multiple sources, and it's the connect part that's free. The collaborative can sit on top of many different IP21s. They don't have to all be the same version. So as long as they're version 7.3 or newer, and I would work with one of the account managers to get a proposal, but there is a charge for the collaborative itself, just not for the connectivity. But yes, and it doesn't have to be just on top of IP21. You can have other data sources as well.
Thanks, Keith. And another question here. So the concept of historian at enterprise level, so the client is concerned about data security associated with that, and what if the network fails? So, are we ready for this in today's modern day society? The question is, can they basically deploy enterprise level historian securely and today?
Yes. So as I mentioned, the enterprise historian, we have full encryption. We employ TLS 1.2 between our source data and our destination data. So that encryption is there to protect the information on the full transfer. And if we were to lose, there was a second part of the question, if we were to lose connectivity, the Aspen Cloud Connect actually buffers the data so that when, let's say, your connection to the enterprise is restored, that data ends up being forwarded. So it ends up doing a store and forward if we lose connectivity to our source, to our destination. And if we actually lose connectivity to our source, we'll also attempt to gap fill. So we'll say we know the last known good data collection timestamp, and we will start there and work our way forward to try and recover and close any gaps as well. So we have encryption layered in, and we have two mechanisms in place to help avoid any gaps in your data.
Thanks, Keith. That's very exciting. And I think we've ran out of time. And again, I would like to thank you to come online from Canada this morning and to answer these questions. For the rest of the team that we haven't answered your questions yet, please use the poll and the questionnaire that now is available at the end of the session to ask more questions about what you've seen in this presentation. Keith and also our account managers and solutions consultants from Blue SP South Africa is available to answer some of these questions in more detail with you, or to arrange a detailed demonstration and discussion about these technologies with you. So thank you very much for this session, Keith, and being with us this afternoon or this morning for your side, and basically presenting to our audience dialing in from all around the world.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the show.